It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today is March 10th. It is a Monday. This is segment C, Block C, which means we do this around 7:45, but I'm way late this morning because of the fact that it's my fault. We had some technical problems. Everything's my fault. Okay, John, the previous commercial, I have a question for you. The previous commercial that just aired was the promo for the Franklin County Republican Central Committee.
Yeah, of course. Big event, yeah.
Their Lincoln-Reagan days. Now, we had a similar event on Friday night in St. Louis that your friend and my friend, do I mention her name? Would she be upset if I mention?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Camelia was there, and she sent some paper, a picture. And did you get the same picture that I got? Did you see that picture?
What was it? Oh, yeah. That we're not supposed to talk about on the air? Like she clearly said, not for public posting?
No, for posting. I didn't take the picture and put it anywhere.
Yeah, maybe we'll let that slide because maybe the people that you wanted to talk about don't. Like, let's just let that one slide, Brad.
Well, in that
it was a great event, and it wasn't just a Friday event. It was Friday and Saturday. It's an annual statewide Lincoln Days.
Okay,
it's a whole weekend shebang.
Well, here's my question: the Franklin County people have renamed their thing the Lincoln-Reagan Days or Lincoln-Reagan Dinner, and the one Friday night in St. Louis was the Lincoln-Trump thing. What is the original derivation? Where did this come from? Where did the Lincoln Days concept come from for the Republicans? Can you explain that to me?
Well, yeah, sure. I think it's just, I don't know exactly when Lincoln Days started. I attended my first, I know this isn't about me, but I attended my first in 1996. And as far as I know, they had been Lincoln Days for decades. And instead of just calling the county and statewide event Republican Dinner, they named it after the first Republican president, Abe Lincoln. So I think it just comes from, and then, it's one of those things that it could have started in any given state. And then people in other states say, hey, Montana is calling it the Lincoln Day weekend. Let's call it Lincoln Day. So everybody, instead of just a generic Republican name, you see?
So, and the purpose of it is?
Well, it's put on by the state Missouri Association of Republicans. So there's two different things going on here, Brad. There's a statewide event that takes place every year, and that's sponsored by the Missouri Association of Republicans, MAR, and it's generally run by people at the Missouri Republican Party. And then you have county Lincoln Days, which are run by the County Republican Central Committee. So, for example, the Franklin County Republican Central Committee, and you can find out about their March 27th event at fccrc.org. They put it on, and it's think of Lincoln Days as a circuit. We have 114 counties plus the city of St. Louis, and in general, most counties have their own Lincoln Days starting in February and wrapping up usually in April.
John, I don't mean to correct you, but you put too many C's in the web address there.
Okay, sure.
It's FC.
And I'm the guy that's in charge of advertising, right? Just kidding. So I should be the one plugging it all the time, right?
It's fcrcc.org.
There we go.
Okay. So it's just like, in what happens at those events?
Well, Brad, I would point people today to go to johncombest.com because 10 years ago in the Missouri Times, I wrote a piece called Toward a More Meaningful, Memorable Lincoln Days. And usually Lincoln Days is kind of, depending on who's running the state party, Lincoln Days can be kind of a rote, R-O-T-E. It could be kind of a rote event where we just do the same things every year, or we can do something a little more creative. Now, in previous years, we've had presidential candidates come and speak. They might be early in the presidential race. It might be in the middle of the race, but you want to get a keynote speaker. The idea of this is to raise money, to build camaraderie among Republicans across the state, to get people to know each other. And then there's official things that happen too. So, for example, a lot of times there's a official Missouri Republican State Committee gets together at Lincoln Days. The Missouri Young Republicans get together to elect their leadership. The Missouri College Republicans get together to elect their leadership. So business takes place at these meetings. And then you also have the opportunity for Republican adjacent groups like, I don't know, Americans for Prosperity Missouri, for example, Camelia Peterson's group is there, and they're able to sign people up, educate people about their message, kind of a goodwill thing, get to know some people, meet new people, cultivate the relationships you already have. So really what Lincoln Days becomes depends on what leadership wants it to be. Now, I have ideas of what Lincoln Days should be. I wrote about them 10 years ago. Like, I'm kind of past that part of my life. I attended every Missouri Lincoln Days from 1997 to 2016, and it was a glorious time. I went to every single one of them, really enjoyed it when that was like kind of the thing that I did. And it's a great opportunity. I suggest if people have never been to a Lincoln Days on the statewide level, they go.
You know, I've been invited several years to go to the Dewey Days, when he beat Truman back in, I guess that was...
Yeah, that was a big event. You were right there on the stagecoach with Truman that day, right?
Right, I sure was. Okay, changing topics. I'm going to see if I can get this to play, because this is a perfect example of why the Westplex Chamber of Commerce exists. If I can't get this to play, I explain this. Hold on, let me see if I can get this play on the air here. Hold on a minute. No, hold on a minute. Okay, hold it. What's going on here? It's not going to hold one more time. Hold on just a minute. Let me see if I can get this to go. It's not going to work. Okay.
Making it one of the most dangerous cities in America.
Let me go back.
Entire blocks are abandoned.
Okay, let me go back. Okay, you ready? Okay.
Number 3. Most dead cities in the USA, everyone is fleeing. Number 3, St. Louis, Missouri. Once a thriving industrial hub, St. Louis has lost over 65% of its population since its peak in the 1950s. Crime rates are staggering, with a violent crime rate of 2,000 per 100,000 people, making it one of the most dangerous cities in America. Entire blocks are abandoned, with over 25,000 vacant buildings crumbling into decay. The city's economy collapsed as major industries shut down. Number 2, Gary, Indiana.
Okay, this is the top 3 dead cities.
Is this the video that you referenced last Friday?
Yes, I couldn't find it, and I just found it over the weekend. Okay, I get confused about this. On YouTube, they're called Shorts, and on Facebook, they're called Reels. Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, and on Instagram, they're called Reels. I believe, on Facebook, on everything Meta, they're called Reels, and then on YouTube, they're called Shorts.
Okay, did you hear that?
I did, yeah.
So this is the problem when I talk about the Westplex Chamber of Commerce, because of the fact that, and my line is usually, people go like, and I normally say, when you travel and let's say we're someone who lives, and it could be in St. Louis County, could be Chesterfield, could be Wildwood, could be, Afton, could be Fenton or whatever. And more specifically, I use this in St. Charles County, and I say to someone, when you travel, and you're like in an airport and someone, hey, where are you from? What do you say? And most people say, well, I'm from St. Louis. And normally the response is, oh my God, are you okay? Did you get carjacked last week? Are there bullet holes in your house? Is the city really on fire? Is it still on fire from the Mike Ferguson days? Is it still
Michael
Brown Ferguson days? It's still, and see, this is the thing where I think I'm kidding. This is not some local guy who did this. This is some national guy who puts these together. The second most here. If you want me to play the rest? Here we go again.
Yeah, it's Gary, Indiana.
Giant. Gary has lost over 55% of its population since 1960, leaving entire neighborhoods empty. Crime is out of control, turning the city into a war zone. The downtown is full of massive abandoned skyscrapers, including the once Grand City Methodist Church, now a crumbling ruin. Number 1, Detroit, Michigan. The city once known as the Motor City has become a ghost town, losing more than...
I'll stop this. The 3 dead cities are in order: St. Louis, Gary, Indiana, and Detroit, Michigan. Now, the interesting part of that is that, if I'm not mistaken, downtown Detroit has had pretty much of a big renaissance in the last 10 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've heard that, but the source, I think, from me hearing that was you, so I'm not sure how credible that is. But yeah, you've mentioned that before, Brad, that Detroit is apparently... at least some area is having a comeback. And let's not forget that Detroit is like, I haven't been there in almost 10 years, but Detroit has those areas much like the suburbs. There's a version of Wildwood in Detroit. There's a version of Ladue in Detroit. There's safe places in the metro area. But if you want to go to a Tigers game or a Lions game, it's like, it's kind of like going downtown to Busch Stadium. Like, you roll the dice and hope for the best.
Okay, I'm going to make, and I may be wrong, but isn't Grosse Pointe, Michigan, isn't that a suburb of Detroit? Isn't that?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I don't know much about Grosse Pointe, though.
It's one of my favorite movies, Grosse Point Blank, but that's a whole nother story. But see, this is the problem that the city has. And to the point where something the other day, there was one of the festivals that was in downtown St. Louis that's moving out of downtown St. Louis out to Chesterfield.
Yeah, the art festival, right? Isn't it the art festival?
No, I don't think it was the art. I can't remember which one of us. And the guy who was in charge of it says, well, let me just say it's not because of crime and everything like that. It's just because, and I'm thinking to myself, no, it's because of crime. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they have to say that.
right, because of the fact. See, God,
it's Taste of St. Louis.
That's right, Taste of St. Louis. Taste of St. Louis. So,
Now, Brad, are you keeping with your original prediction that Tishaura Jones will get reelected?
Well, I didn't do too well on the presidential. I said that it was going to be Kamala who was going to get the presidential nod, and I was wrong on that one. Yeah, I'm still going to stick with Tishaura because.
Oh wow, that's okay. Good for you for being wrong and like staying with it.
Well, I still think what's going to happen is there's going to be a bunch of people who are going to go, well, Tishaura needs my help. You know what I mean? Because the crazy thing about it is, to me, it's abundantly clear that she does not understand the root problem of the city of St. Louis. The root problem is crime. It's crime.
What's the other two things, Brad? Give the Steve Ellman pitch.
Well, it's education as well, too. That Steve Ellman gave two things. He essentially says a good community that what people want to move to has good schools and is safe and has good police force, okay? And once again, I keep saying that. I'm sorry. That's St. Charles County. For the most part, the school districts, although the school districts have gone sort of wacky over the last couple of years with all these crazy things.
All right, but let's get back to the city.
With
the
superintendents. Okay, but that's the problem. I mean, and the crazy thing about this is, which you and I have talked about this recently, and it's been part of the John Combest top 3, the thing that's moving through the state legislature of the state taking back control of the police department of the city of St. Louis. And I think, don't you think it would be safe to say that, let's say that comes to pass, and I've already heard the city say, well, we're going to fight it. We're going to fight it in the courts. If that does pass, we're not going to go along with it. We're going to fight it. Don't you think that if the state takes control of the city police department, the first thing they're going to do is put up a help wanted sign? You know what I'm saying? Hire some more police officers?
For hiring more officers.
Yes, we need.
Yeah, and doing whatever it takes to make sure there's adequate pay and you attract officers. Sure.
Exactly, which Tishaura won't do. They've got, what is it? It's not a half billion. It's what their share of the money was like, what, $300 million? Is that what?
275. 275. Ballpark,
okay, 275 from the Stan Kroenke thing. 275 million. Okay, think about, you're a financial guy. $275 million in some kind of an interest-bearing account. What kind of money could that spit out on a daily basis? What kind of interest could be earned on $275 million on a daily basis?
A ton of money. Now, not enough to pay for essential stuff like reparations.
Yeah, but my point being is every day, couldn't that pay for like 10 or 12 police officers?
Yeah, of course it could, Brad. Yeah, but I mean, that would require a little bit of common sense. And let's not forget that there have been people on the St. Louis Board of Aldermen who said exactly what you're saying. Until we figure out how to spend all of it, let's make sure that we're gaining interest on what we don't spend right now. Like, let's just be smart about it. But I don't think money is real to a lot of people in government. Like, look at what we're seeing with Doge. I think you just think, well, the money will keep coming, we'll print more. But then when you have Donald Trump as president, maybe that spigot stops. And you're not just going to get a ton of Biden bucks anymore.
Did you see over the weekend Stacey Abrams giving her explanation of how her little not-for-profit got $2 billion from FEMA?
No, I didn't see. I bet it was really well thought out, though.
Well, she talked about, let's just talk about this tomorrow because we're over time. But to me, I'm going like, okay, this woman can justify anything, essentially.
Yeah, she's pretty good at it.
Essentially,
maybe you and I can, let's go over some notes on that on the Miss Augusta today. And we're meeting there at high noon, right?
Yeah.
I brought a giant hemp rope that we can tie it to 0 trees down at the Washington riverfront.
We're going to go to that dispensary right there right at the Missouri River Bridge, the one that the lady drove through. By the way, I should point this out. When I was in Washmo over the weekend, there's a for sale sign on the building. I'm going like, okay, hold on a minute. They just rebuilt. If you don't know the story, it used to be a doctor's office, and some lady, when it was marijuana, we call it marijuana 1.0. Now we're at marijuana 2.0, okay? Before, when it was just the prescription marijuana stuff, and some lady came off the bridge one night, and when they put the new bridge in, you got a little jog, you come off the bridge, you got to make a left, you got to make a right. She make a left, but she didn't make a right, and she went right through the front door of the place and caused it to partially collapse, and then her car caught on fire. It was a mess. So they rebuilt it. Now it's really nice, and they got all those big bollards up in front, so unless a big Mack truck hits it, the chances are nobody's going to smash in the building. But there's a for sale sign in front of it now. I'm going like, okay, hold on a minute now. What are they doing? They just rebuilt the place, and they're selling it already? I don't get it.
I know. That's why you had that joint venture with the Hoffmans. You're scrapping that original Meacham Park plan, and now you're moving into Washmo, Brad. I know I'm not supposed to talk about that on the air, but, you talk about, pictures from Lincoln days we're not supposed to talk about. So let's talk about your plans with the Hoffmans.
I didn't repost that picture.
I'm joking you, Brad. I'm giving you a hard time.
Okay, John, you never do that. You're always complimentary of everything I do.
Shelley Barr is laughing at some point right now because I'm going to say, oh, Brad, stop it, Brad.